mafia.
Charles at this point is always the bridesmaid and never the bride, because Harry's starting on P1, right? And you can never capitalize off it. Welcome everyone to Wheel It Up, where your two favorite F1 fans talk all things F1. It's me and Chanise.
Anyone who listens to our podcast, though, feel free to help us. We're trying to come up with a new intro line that says what we do, but I don't know. I guess we are your favorite. What did you say? Favorite F1 fans?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm happy with that.
Oh, F1 friends. But you can Instagram us you can DM us, at Wheel It Up F1 on Instagram or on Twitter, and let us know what kind of intro you think could work for us.
Yeah. Ask the fans. That's what we need, is a little section. Ask the fans. I'd like to get a few fans on the pod. We had an amazing guest last week.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. The steward's office, very, very fun. It was really good. It was nice to get her take on stuff. And yeah, it's like our first guest. Enjoyed it. And she enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, and she was the first guest on someone's podcast. Does that make sense? As in, like, it was her first time being a guest on someone's podcast, which I thought was really cool. It was our one. You heard it here first.
We are recording this on Tuesday, which might be spooky for some because it is Halloween apparently, but I'm Jamaican, so we don't do those things. So usually, aren't you?
Oh, that's interesting. Is that right? Because my grandma's Jamaican and I live with my grandparents at the moment, and they're like, oh, Halloween, oh, we can't do that, oh, trick or treats, all. And I'm like, is this a thing? But okay, this makes sense. She did say in Jamaica they don't do it, but I didn't know if that was just because they didn't do it or because they genuinely believe, no, it's weird.
Well, both. We don't do it, and it's weird. Like, I've dressed up 2 Halloweens. Once when I was 19. 2 years ago, one of our mutual friends, she had a non-Halloween party. So that's what I dressed up for as an old woman, which was absolutely fun. I really, really enjoyed that. But I'm not a Halloween person.
I saw all the photos of that when Simone was dressed as an old lady, and it was really funny. You did go for it. I think because technically my background's like mixed heritage, and I grew up with my mom, who's like, my mom's side of the family are like a white. And I definitely went trick-or-treating when I was little. And I really enjoyed the trick-or-treating thing. But I think now, would I take my kids? I don't know. I feel like trick-or-treating is something that's like going out of fashion now. Not that this episode's about Halloween or trick-or-treating, but that's where we're at, I guess, in our lives.
Anyway, let's get into what was the Mexican Grand Prix this weekend, or last weekend, actually. I said this weekend coming is a different one. So yeah, we had the Mexican Grand Prix, which was 70 odd laps, and
71 to be precise.
71 laps of what I think personally is a bit too long, because I was tired and bored. I'm not gonna lie, I was tired and bored, but a lot happened. So let's get into a couple of things from the Grand Prix. Well, first of all, Alex Albon, well done over the weekend for practice. Okay, in practice you were P2, in P1, in practice 1, sorry, and he was even P.
Oh, sorry to cut you off, Simone, but it's funny because I was wondering where you were going with that, because when you said Alex Albon, well done, I was thinking, hang on a minute, he didn't do that well, but then I realised where you're going with this. We're starting all the way from practice. Continue.
Just an FYI, I don't actually normally watch practice, but I just happened to be at home. And he did really well in the practice sessions, P1 and P3. That was it. So heading over to qualify, Lando didn't get out of Q1, which was a shocker. Logan didn't even set a time, which is not surprising. The fact that Logan is actually coming every week to work, actually turning up, is a shocker in itself to me, because my gosh.
Well, he's got a better opportunity than Nick de Vries did, so I'm not saying that he was any better, but I'm just saying his time was cut short unfairly, and I will stand by that.
Speaking of de Vries, though, I'm jumping ahead here, but actually in the cool down room after that race had finished, so when it was Lewis, Max, and Charles in there, they showed the grid of how many people got points, and then I saw Nick de Vries' name at the end, and it said 0 0 next to his name. They were just doing a tally of all the drivers for this season. I was like, oh my God. Because even Liam Lawson was on there.
Oh, of course, yeah. Because I was going to say, I don't know why they've included him if he's not fit. But yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Obviously, he started the season, so you've got to include him.
Wow, yeah, but they didn't let him finish the season. It doesn't make any sense.
No, it's ridiculous. Anyhow, we had Yuki, who had a new power unit, so he had a pit lane start on Sunday. Logan Sargent also had a pit lane start. No surprise there. Lance Stroll was his 25th birthday, who is 25 in real life, but to me looks like 39, 41.
I always think that's such a very specific number, Simone. And also, I don't, not saying that I completely disagree, but I do think he has quite an old style Bieber haircut, and I don't think anyone who's like 39 or 41 would have that haircut. I don't think they'd get away with it, or even have the audacity to try.
He looks like he's stressed for life, and he has like a mortgage and a couple of kids that he's got to feed, and he's just looks like, yo, I can't. He looks like he's almost saying to him, I can't lose this job, but I also don't want to be here, because if I don't have this job, how am I going to look after the family? Like, how am I going to feed the kids?
Exactly what's going through his mind. Let's be real. I mean, he can't lose his job. He doesn't want to quite lose his job, but he also doesn't want to quite be there. Becoming Aston Martin this weekend, double DNF. What? Do you know what I mean? Like, he probably is going in that mindset.
I know. Sorry, something random just popped into my head. Yeah, when I was just looking at it, I don't care if we put this in the podcast, but I was talking to my manager today, and he stopped me mid-sentence. He goes, "Fucking hell, your skin is so clear."
But do you know what's really funny, actually? Just going back to hair quickly, you were talking about like Lance Stroll looking stressed, whatever. I never thought that we'd talk about a driver's hair on this podcast. So much so, there was a moment in the race where it was during after the red flag, and everyone was kind of like waiting in the pit lanes and whatever. There was a moment where Yuki Tsunoda took his helmet off, and I just sat there and I just thought, man, this guy needs some conditioner. And I just couldn't stop thinking about how much he needs conditioner. And then I kept thinking, God, if I ever said that on the podcast and I met him in person and he ever listened to that, I wonder what he'd say. And I'd try and make a joke out of it and be like, oh, well, you know.
I don't know if he'd care.
I don't think he'd care that I don't think he'd care what I think. But it was just funny because I was just thinking, I just couldn't stop thinking about like him needing conditioner in his hair, and then what would happen if he heard me say, oh, what would happen if I met him and I just said, oh, one time I thought you needed conditioner in your hair. Do you know what I mean? It's going round in circles in my mind. That's my brain just going melting confetti.
Funny. But yeah, let's get into race day of Sunday. So we've gone through pit lane starts. This is Mexico. This we anticipated and we hyped up. Is Checo Perez. It's his home race. Okay, the Mexican fans are coming out for you, only you, some of Lewis, but mainly you. Okay, they're coming out for you because like you're their person, like you're their savior. Like they're coming out for you. They had some bearer hats and all kinds of things going on. Like it was like, come on, we're cheering for you. The little kids there, but their parents. Lap one. Before we even get into what happened to Checo, yeah. Is Leclerc not sick of being on pole? Right? Is he not sick of that? Of being on pole, being number one, but not
finishing as number one, not cashing it in as number one. I agree. There's two things that you've said there, Simone, that I just want to quickly pick up on, okay? That I guess we're talking about Leclerc, so we'll go over Leclerc first. Last week on the pod, we spoke about the fact that I think it was his 10th time qualifying and starting on pole and not finishing pole. And I can't remember where he finished last week, but it was definitely like less than fourth or lower. I can't remember. And this week, he was closer. Third, still on podium, but not a number one finish. So this week would make it 11 times now that he's started on pole and not finished on pole, which is a real shame. The other thing you were talking about there was Checo in his first lap, and how last week we were talking about how he's got to bring it, it's his home race, etc. And we always say that on the pod. We always say, but it's your home race, you've got to bring it. For me, Checo basically just brought it too much. And the thing is, I'm not going to have a go at him about it. I thought he handled it really well. And I couldn't imagine being in his situation with the pressure that he's under and that happening. For me, as much as it was an error and he was in the wrong, and it was a really awful thing in front of your home crowd, which started to leave when the red flag came in. A lot of them started to leave because he wasn't in the race. I just felt bad for him, but like I felt in a way kind of positive about. I found him quite inspiring in that moment, because he just bought it too much, and he was saying in like one of the interviews that if he had not gone for it and tried to take lead, that he wouldn't have felt, he wouldn't have felt as good if he didn't give it his all. And I think that's the thing. I loved that it showed his resilience. He was still proud of himself, and it inspired me that, even when things go wrong and you make a mistake, you have to be happy with the fact that you still went for it and you gave it your best shot. And that really resonated with me, actually, because this week I had a similar thing where like I went for like an audition, like a screen test for something quite big, and I didn't get it, and I got nothing but positive feedback. They had no negative feedback for me. So it kind of inspired me that Perez had, like, at that top level, he was able to kind of still be really positive. And I feel like I kind of, maybe it was a blessing in disguise for me that I really needed to hear that, because I was feeling all down about something that I couldn't have changed, and his was a genuine error. I had nothing but positive feedback. So, just saying.
That is good that you took some inspiration from it. And sorry to hear that you didn't get your audition, but at least you got really good feedback. But I was feeling not one bit of inspired from what happened to Perez.
I knew we were going to disagree. I couldn't wait.
I was not feeling not one bit of inspiration from that, because let me tell you, I'm not good at maths, but 3 into 1, baby, don't go. So the 3 cars are side by side, don't go. I get it. It's your home race. You're excited. Like, the pressure is on. You want to do well. You want to have a good start. But sweetie pie, this doesn't work. So I'm not quite sure what you thought was going to happen here, but you weren't going to be able to take the lead. When I saw his car go up and off, I was like, oh my gosh.
I saw your message in the group chat, and that's when I knew, like, Simone is ready to cast this guy on the pod. She's ready.
But the only point I felt bad for him, because it's like, it's your home race and everyone is there for you, and you have to score points. Like, it's not like your future is solidly secured. You have to score. And I'm not gonna lie, there was a point when I saw him in the car when he came into the pits and they were trying to fix his car, I wanted to cry for him. I'm not gonna lie, I did want to cry for him, but at the same time it was like, my God, you actually should not have done that.
I think he wanted to give his fans like the best show. I think he basically just wanted to lead the race in that first moment, but you need to know better than that. You can't make judgment calls based on stuff like that. You need to make the judgment call on, okay, the space is too tight. Let me save my car, myself, my integrity, my mental health, everything, just to lead a race for a split second, because Max is going to come and take over anyway. Like, you've got to think smarter than that. But I also did just feel bad for him. And I think he handled it really well, because if it was me, I would have been crying.
Yeah, I was crying for him. They showed this image of this little boy crying into his dad.
Oh my God, I'd never really laugh at a kid crying, and I'm not, but I'm just saying, why the hell did they zoom in on that?
That is traumatic, because the whole people are here for you. It's so sad. It was so sad. Yeah. I was like, what's not going wrong with it, Bob? Your future depends on it. Yeah. Then I saw him come into the garage and having to face your colleagues, your people that have worked so hard on your car all weekend, the people that are putting in effort just so you can try and stay in this This
And it's his home race. So the reality is he probably had a lot of people there as well, like his family and friends and whatever. And I think this is like not the first time, but like the last two races in Mexico where he's been there, he's been on podium. So, God, I couldn't even imagine. And that's why I'm saying I feel like he handled it really well. But there's so much that happened in this. There were so many moments where I was like so many moments I had my hands on my head. The next big thing I would say was potentially Kevin Magnussen's crash. There was a few other things in between, but I think that was the next big thing. Lap 33, bro. High speed crash. Wow.
not surprised.
Okay, yeah, you're not surprised. Continue.
I'm not surprised in the slightest. I saw it and I was like, oh my gosh, I needed a red flag because I really wanted to do some stuff. I was like, I need a break for a second.
So you weren't surprised because basically, as a fortune teller or some sort of intuition you've got into the energy, you said, I need a red flag, and a red flag came about. And weirdly, I don't think this is the first time it's happened.
No, it's not the first time actually. I don't remember the race it happened. I remember that what happened though, it was Yuki Tsunoda, and something happened to his car in the formation lap, and the race was delayed. Anyhow, so
it's all Simone's fault.
Red flag for Kevin, which I'm just like, again, he can't enjoy turning up to work and just having this situation. Surely
it wasn't his fault though. It was the car.
Yeah, it was a car. It was a car failure.
I'm cutting him out because of some driver error or something that he's done or whatever. But this was the Haas again. Gunther, what's going on, man? I'm not calling him out too much. I love him. I do love watching him as well. But come on, what is going on with his car?
What's going on? Yeah. Just not surprised in the slightest. But yeah, so we had the red flag, which literally just enabled everyone. The race is just almost neutralized now. Like everyone is just
restart,
basically,
and still restart.
And at this point, I was ready for the race to end, because I was like, oh my God, I've been watching this for ages.
Yeah, and I think it was they ended up restarting lap 36, which means we were basically halfway into the race.
It was dragging. I was like, I'm ready for this to be over with. I can't really remember any major big things that even happened because I thought, oh my God, this is actually quite boring. Obviously, Max went and took the lead at the first get-go. He had a brilliant start to the race. I was like, oh my God, like, where did you get this energy and power from? He just was straight off with it, took the lead, went for it. Don't blame him. Because really and truly, when you're sitting on pole, Charles, you're first, Carlos, you're second, you should be taking advantage of that. It's almost like you either shouldn't be on pole or you should be either second or third, because the positions and the takeoffs that they're getting from second and third position is a whole lot better.
Agreed, but it's a difficult one though, because I've said this before, that even though you start on pole, I genuinely don't think it makes I don't think it makes a difference. I really don't. Like, there's other than Max, there's so few people who start on pole and finish on pole. There's just too much to happen in a race, and I think unless you've got a Red Bull car, the old Mercedes, it doesn't make any difference. I feel, and I think the reason why as well we can't remember anything that happened like in the race before that crash was because nothing really did happen before that crash. It kind of all started happening after post lap 36 in the race. So it was like having a whole new sprint, and it was like, and it was just like, oh, okay, now shit's going on, now shit's happening, and I've got my hands on my head, and I'm like, defend, overtakes, like going mad. Like, there were so many. That's a topic today, man. So many good overtakes. Lewis Hamilton's overtake lap point with Charles Leclerc, the defending that George Russell was doing right at the end, like lap 69 to 71 with Daniel Ricciardo. I was freaking out. I was like, George, move, George, go. honestly, I was free because I loved Daniel Ricciardo in the race. I thought he did really well. I was thinking this guy might even be my star boy this week. But you know me, I'm a massive George fan, and I just couldn't let that happen. Not for Danny Rick. No way. No way.
I wanted him to overtake him.
I know you did.
I wanted Daniel to overtake him. You're in a AlphaTauri. Like, oh my gosh. Like Daniel this weekend to come back, like after the weekend he had last week, there was a comeback after you've broken and busted your hand and your wrist and whatnot. Like he had a really good race. And I don't think he anticipated to be where he was in the race and finished I think he finished 6th. I don't think he anticipated. Yeah, no, sorry, he finished 7th. He wouldn't have anticipated that. He couldn't get past George. But George, you're in a Mercedes and you are trying to fight off Daniel.
Yeah, but he was losing on his tires, so it was the end. It was coming to the end of the race, and I think he knew it was going to be hard. In fact, who was it now? It was when Lando was behind George, and Lando's engineer, the guy in his ear, went, "Just bide." I can't remember the quote. Was something like, "Just bide your time, because you know what George is like." They were basically waiting for him to like slip. Oh, that's what he said. He said George is all or nothing. So just like bide your time. And I was thinking, so your strategy is basically just relying on George at some point to slip up.
Funny.
That was kind of bad.
Some other big points in the race were Fernando Alonso getting fined for speeding in the pit lane. He was fined €100, which obviously to him is pocket money. I mean, you could get fined 10 times more than that, and I don't think it would affect him. But the fact that they're having that fine, you've been speeding, €100.
Here's a question, Simone. I'm not sure if you know the answer or not. If you get fined €100 for speeding in the pit lane, as a driver, do you pay that or do the team pay it?
You personally, I don't know if it goes to the team.
I was thinking that because when they said, "Oh, Alonso's been fined," I was thinking, well, wouldn't that just be Aston Martin's been fined? But I don't know, actually. Something for us to look up, and we'll report back next episode, which is only like 6 days away. But yeah, that was an interesting one, because I just thought, oh, have they got to pay like their own fine money? Most of the time they don't.
Well, someone's got to pay it, and I assume it's coming out of the guy who actually incurred the fine.
Well, yeah, but I thought it would come from the team because he's in that, but I guess not, because I guess F1 is just totally different. I see it as I'm a mere mortal, so I work for somebody. So if I fuck up, like work are like gonna sort it out. I'll be in the shit for it, but they're gonna sort it out.
No, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're not mere mortals.
No, they're not, and they have money. But yeah, Aston Martin had a very shit race, 2 DNFs, so both Lance Stroll on his birthday and Fernando out of the
man. Not
yeah. I didn't care. I don't care about them either way, to be honest, but it's just not a really good look. It's just like, I'm not sure what's happened. It's like their car has increasingly got slower and slower every race. And at the start of the season, you guys were all hyping it up, and like Fernando was like, I want to challenge it, I'm going to be on pole. Baby, like you haven't touched the pole in a very long time. What's going on?
True, but at the start of the season they were doing quite well, and you know, you say you don't care, but I do. They at the start of the season they were potentially going to be my backup team or my team for next year that I'm supporting, but that's not happening now. McLaren, come through, you're there. Speaking of McLaren, actually, Lando, boy, smacked it. Wow. God, I know I can't stop talking about Lando recently. These last 3 episodes, all of them like Starboy, Lando, Starboy, Oscar, McLaren, come through. Wow. I do think this was one of Lando Norris's best races, like, in his career so far. This guy was stopping for no one. I loved the confidence, I loved the attitude, and I loved the driving. Lando bought it this weekend. I don't know what happened to that guy on Sunday. Don't know who put a pound in his little machine, but he absolutely smashed it. And I think what he started originally 19th, then in the restart 17th, gained 12 places. That is incredible. Normally, if Max does something like that, we especially at the start of his career, or what, not really at the start, but you know, when he started doing stuff like that, we were really praising him, giving him his flowers. I feel like Lando deserves some flowers this week.
Yeah, sure. I think he definitely got that pounding his step from Saturday, from like not getting into Q3. Like, when has Lando never got into Q3 on a weekend? That is ridiculous. Like, since he started, I feel like he's always been in Q3. He's always qualified very well. So I know he was pissed off about. But hey, to finish where he did, considering 19th. Oh my God. I mean, you ended the race 5th.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Really good, really, really good. Honestly, I thought it was an absolutely brilliant drive. But even just watching him overtake, watching him plan things, like when he overtook Russell, it was just absolutely brilliant. And yeah, just funny when his engineer was in his ear just saying, "Bide your time. He's gonna make a mistake." He didn't say he's not gonna make a mistake, but it was just, you just knew what he was getting at. But yeah, I thought it was a brilliant drive from Lando. I don't want to make him my star boy though, because then it looks like favoritism. It's been my star boy too much in the last few weeks.
Going back to your Ferrari boys though, like,
Who's Ferrari boys? Mine? Whose? I don't know. I'm joking. I'm joking. They are still my team, but recently it's been quite difficult to continue supporting Ferrari.
Not disown them, but
I'm not going to disown them.
God disown them. But Charles getting on pole but not capitalizing is really like, it's like, you know, when you're always the bridesmaid and never the bride. That's what it feels.
Oh no, don't do my Charles like that. No way.
You know what? Capitalize then. You're in number one position on the Sunday, but you don't do anything with it. You just open up your front piece and just let flipping Max just go and overtake you. What the hell? Didn't your parents teach you better than that?
Oh my God, Simone's face is killing me right now. I actually wrote a note in my notes. I wrote a note because exactly that. I understand he started on pole, etc., etc. Still got podium though, you know. That's positive. He still got podium. But my question is it him or is it the car?
Listen, it's definitely it's a bit of both. But at this point, I'm beginning to think it's a bit of you, because you keep consistently being on pole, but you keep consistently not capitalizing off it. It's ridiculous.
The car isn't starting well enough? Is it that the fact that his reaction times are a bit slower? Like, I can't work out quite like what it is. And you know, there was such, oh my God, did you see the post interview with him afterwards? Oh my God, drama. First of all, when he walked up there, they were all booing him because obviously
I did see that bit. And then he was like, "Hey, it's not my fault what happened with Perez." Like, I was like, yo, all I'm saying is, when I saw that, I was like, yo, Charles needs security. He needs security right now. Like, you can't let these Mexican fans get a hold of him. Forget it. He'll go missing.
Bottle could have gone flying.
He'll go missing. If he doesn't turn up to Brazil next week, we know why.
I felt really bad for Charles in that moment. Obviously, I felt bad for Perez in the moment that happened to him, but I felt really bad for Charles in that moment just because it was kind of like obviously that they're, first of all, they're booing him, and then he was saying he was sad, you know, it wasn't the way he wanted it to go. But also it just felt like quite a negative interview, like, and I just felt bad for him. Like, at the end of the day, like, he was quite right, like, it wasn't really his fault and it's not what he wanted, but
he had no room, so there was nowhere for him to go. He was basically sandwiched in. Like, where was he to go? There were 3 cars, he was in the middle.
Exactly. And I did feel like that the interview was quite negative. And it was just focused on kind of like his bad moments in the race. And for example, at the restart, I don't know if you heard Charles on the mic basically saying, "Oh, this is going to be terrible," and for the restart. And I thought, and straight away I was like, oh no, Charles. But obviously it wasn't that bad. Like, the restart wasn't that bad, but it just made me think like the interview focused like quite on the negatives, whereas he still did get a podium, and I feel like it could have been a bit more celebratory, rather than asking loads of questions about what happened with Perez, because the other person who annoyed me in the post interview actually was Max. First question, I can't remember exactly the first question what it was, but it was kind of, oh yeah, it was "You've just won the Mexican Grand Prix, basically how are you feeling, right?" And he was like, "Oh, well, you know, with what happened with Perez at the start and him not finishing and going out on lap 1 and the fans who still stuck around." I was thinking, boy, most of the fans are gone. But like, don't bring that up again in the post interview. Like that's your teammate. What you doing? Don't mention the downfalls of your teammate on your first question in your first 30 seconds.
He's going to, of course he's going to. I can't imagine the conversations he has about him. But anywho,
but then I saw Lewis trying to drown him with the champagne anyway afterwards. So but I don't know if anyone else clocked that, but Max was choking. Like Lewis was like this for ages. See, like literally pouring champagne in his mouth for ages. And
your teammate.
So funny. Not funny at all, but
Should have stayed at home.
Who was your should have stayed at home?
My should have stayed at home. God, who was my should have stayed at home? It can't be Magnussen this time, because at the end of the day, it wasn't his fault. It can't really be Alonso, and I don't want it to be Perez. Why was Lance Stroll out again?
Oh God, why does it take you so long to think of someone? I'm just going to go and tell you, my should have stayed at home was the whole Aston Martin, because you both.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking.
Okay, both of your drivers did not DNF. And although it was Lance Stroll's birthday and he's 25, looking 41, I still don't care. Okay, like I still do not care. I mean, Alonso, you've got a fine for speeding in the pit lane. You might as well have just stayed at home anyway. Like, why did you both come?
I agree, but I can't. Oh God, my brain does this to me sometimes. Why was Stroll out again? What happened?
I don't get.
I can't remember what happened. We've been discussing this like the whole. Oh my God, before we even got it. But yeah, because that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, oh, they're both out. Maybe it's Aston Martin. Is there anybody else who could be my should have stayed at home? I mean, Logan Sargent, he didn't finish again, did he? I feel like he's been my should have stayed at home so many times. I found it quite hard basically to pick a should have stayed at home this week. So I'm going to go ahead and just agree with your Aston Martin decision. A double DNF, I think, really isn't on.
Okay. There you go. We've got that.
What about? I know, but I had to cop out and choose yours. But I think I would have chosen that one properly anyway. What about your star boy?
Who's my star boy? It's either going to be Lewis or Lando. Lewis or Lando. Lewis or Lando. Which one do I choose? Or is it Daniel Ricciardo?
Look who's taking forever to choose who her star boy is now. I'm going to go ahead and tell you who my one is straight up. To be fair, I was going to choose Lewis, and I am still choosing Lewis, but Daniel Ricciardo was very close. Very close. I think if he had made the overtake with George, as much as I didn't want it, he would have been my star boy for sure. But Lewis, he's hardly ever my star boy, so I'm going to go with Lewis.
You never really picked Lewis for anything, to be fair. All right, cool. So Lewis is yours. And you know what? Lewis had a really good race. Like,
really good race.
Mexico's like his third home, fourth home, whatever. You know what I mean? He's going home this weekend to Brazil. So that's going to be exciting. But my star boy is, I'm going to go with Lando. I think I felt for him not getting his Q3 on Saturday, because that is very unlike him. But yeah, to finish where he did, giving it to you, baby.
Yep. I feel like he must listen. He must listen to our podcast.
I think he does.
He must do. He must listen. I reckon a lot of the drivers. I mean, not Lewis. Lewis definitely doesn't listen to our podcast.
No.
Yeah, he definitely does. He has no time to be listening to our podcast. But, I do feel like Lando, Alex Albon, because remember, every time we go for a series of like being like, oh, we just need Alex, we're cussing him out, oh, he needs to have a bit more confidence, blah, blah, blah. Who's absolutely smashing it in the Williams after that? Then we start talking about Lando, oh, Lando, he's not giving it, he's not bringing it, blah, blah, blah. Who's smashing it now after that? Oscar Piastri, oh, we see his potential, but he's just not bringing it, we just need him to bring it. Who's smashing it now? Every time we say these things on the podcast, I'm just saying the drivers seem to like pick up. We said about Perez last week, he needs to bring it for his home race. Now he just bought a bit too much. But,
I bought it too much.
I'm just saying. But can you bring it too much? I think he was well in his right to try his best, but his best just wasn't good enough, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So everyone, we've got a late arrival to the pod. We are so excited to have Anita here this week. As you know, me and Simone have given our little download of what we think, but we had to get Anita's opinion in on this. So Anita, come through, start to finish. Let's start with Checo though, because that was only lap 1, so that is basically the start.
Firstly, I'm sorry for my tardiness. My communication skills are not up there, unfortunately, but I am sorry to everybody for my tardiness. Now, Checo, listen, I was rooting for him the entire weekend from peak practice 1, practice 2, practice 3. Every time he'd get a little purple sector, I would still be like, oh my God, Checo, yay. Even though Max Verstappen will come 30 seconds later and take it away from him, it was still a positive. I'm thinking, you're getting closer, you're getting closer, you're getting closer. Quali happens now. I don't think Checo put in his best lap at any point. And that's worrying for me because this is your home crowd. And like everyone says, at your home crowd, you get that extra few temps. He didn't get that extra few temps. So I'm thinking, okay, your start in the Grand Prix has to be 10 out of 10. You've got the car to do it. You've got the car to just race back up the field anyway. No matter where you're starting, you can do it. And you are at home. By lap 3, you should be up there battling with Max. Cool. Lap 1, turn 1. Turn 1. I think that's what spins me. Turn 1. He didn't even have.
He didn't finish a lap.
He didn't finish a lap. He did not finish a lap. Turn 1. And at first, I thought it was Charles's fault, right? Because I'm watching it sorry, but I'm watching it at Gold Diggers. So we're doing our podcast same time as the race is starting. So I'm watching it on my little iPad thinking, oh my God, how dare the Ferraris do this? And in my head, I'm thinking, Chanise gonna hate me. She gonna hate me because I'm gonna cuss them out. But then I watched the replay and I'm like, no, this has nothing to do with Charles. I don't know what space Checo thought that he had. He said that he thought he had space and he was trying to get into the space. What space? There was no space to be had, not by Charles, not by Verstappen. If you saw the way they all launched off as well, it just didn't make any sense to try and make a move in the first place. You have the fastest car. Take your bloody time. Take your time.
Can you do maths?
Yeah, a little bit.
Chanise, can you do maths?
I guess. What kind of maths?
Mathematically,
are we talking algebra or are we talking differential calculus?
The three cars into one go, because mathematically, Checo, and I said this, when you're looking at anything, does this add up? Does the math right now, can I do this? No, that's why you went off into the air, to the side, like a side gal, and you were just nowhere to be seen.
Literally, the maths was not mathing. And the funniest thing of it all, we saw the debris that came off this man's car. And he had the audacity to go back into the pits, do the pit stop, and start bawling out when he realized he can't drive off. My guy, you should have known that from the second the debris fell on the floor. Those look like important pieces. They didn't look like small bits off the wing. No, it looked like your engine was in trouble. Your engine was in trouble. There was something was missing from that car. So it was such a disappointment to have him out at turn 1. And we'll probably get to it, but booing Charles at the end?
Oh, we said this. Oh, baby.
Yeah.
No.
Nah.
And that really actually broke my heart because he just sounded like there's nothing that I could have done. There was no space. I tried my best. There was nothing that he could have done. And as a racer, what can you do in that situation? Even if Charles backed off, Checo still would have hit him and gone flying. There was no room.
There was no room.
Zilch.
I actually it's actually a good it's a wonder really that Charles came out of it so well.
Right. And bits were coming off his car. Let's not lie. Bits were coming off Charles' car too, but it was nowhere near like what happened to Checo. Like the damage underneath the car Hey, Karen was not happy.
Christine Horner. The mola, the money.
Oh
Where's
my
it coming
God.
from?
Girls, do you know when Checo went back into the paddock? The looks on everyone's faces. It just gave, your time is limited. Your time is going.
It's giving. We spent all weekend trying to fight for you, make you do your car, and this is what you do. We don't even get like a full lap. We just one turn.
One turn. For the whole weekend, one turn. And I had high hopes. I really did think that he was going to either contend with Max or at least get that second place and probably battle it out with Lewis towards the end. I don't think Charles was going to make it to the top three at the end, if I'm being genuine.
You know what? Yeah, I mean, come on now. Because really and truly, Charles at this point is always the bridesmaid and never the bride, because Harry's starting on P1, right? And you can never capitalize off it. I said this to Chanise, I was like, listen, well go on for your man, because he can never capitalize.
The 11th time, and definitely twice in a row, because we spoke about this last week on the pod.
How do you get P1? You're qualifying P1. Like, it was a Ferrari front row lockout, and then you open up your front piece and just let man through. Didn't your parents teach you better than that?
I'm just looking at it and I'm like, Max started third, didn't he?
Listen, the start that Max had, epic. Even I have to be like, chef's kiss.
I thought Max's start was just one of them ones where, because Mexico was booing him the entire weekend, he said, well, you don't have to respect me.
Exactly. Your boy ain't gonna do it, so I'm gonna do it for you.
He said, I'm gonna do it for you. I'm gonna represent Checo. He came out with the whole sombrero and everything.
Oh my God. I genuinely was like, I'm glad you said this actually, Anita, because we didn't speak about this earlier. But when that happened, I was like, I don't know if this is meant for Checo to have won. And he's supposed to be doing this whole charade. But why the hell are you out here in a sombrero? This is borderline kind of like, you know what I'm thinking. Yeah, exactly. Cultural appropriation. I was thinking, whoa, this is a bit weird, man.
They planned it for Checo to win. Everything was centered around Checo winning. Even like at the end, like I know they do it at every Mexican Grand Prix, but even the band that was playing at the end, the Mexican style of the F1 song, I'm just like, it was written in the stars for Checo to at least be on podium. Didn't happen. And boy, I'm just so disappointed with him. And for everyone that was listening, he was my should have stayed at home. 100%. You can't come and embarrass yourself like that in front of your home crowd. And it's crazy because some people have their home crowds and not everyone is rooting for them. But when you go to Mexico, it is Checo.
There's no one else really. I said it's mainly like 99% Checo and maybe 1% Lewis, because they do love Lewis in Mexico.
Exactly. It's literally Checo or the minority of Lewis. And I was even happy that they were all cheering on Lewis, because in 2021 they weren't cheering him like that. Or was it 2022? 2022. They weren't cheering Lewis like that. So seeing them cheer Lewis on like that was really nice. It was refreshing. I'm happy I got off my chest.
Better now.
I do. I feel great. I'm what? Fernando Alonso, what happened?
Listen,
okay, double DNF. Let's go into this because Simone, and actually I agreed, should have stayed at home, was Aston Martin as a whole.
I hear it.
I don't care that it was Lance Stroll's 25th birthday, but he looks 41 with a mortgage and kids, and he's got to try and feed them. But like, how many DNFs do you have? How many DNFs?
Wait a minute. Anita, did I read your message in the chat right, talking about how you feel like Lance Stroll might leave? Or did you say Lawrence Stroll?
Lawrence Stroll. So there's rumours.
Because this might affect Lance Stroll. Just saying. Wait a minute.
There's rumours that Lawrence wants to sell Aston Martin.
Is this because he's trying to save his son, so his son can finally leave?
Do you guys remember the last time I was here, I told you Lance Stroll doesn't want to do F1 anymore. You can see it all over him, and you can just tell.
He's pissed off.
Of
course he is. Wouldn't you be pissed if you put your child in a fucking sport, yeah? You bought a team, invested all this money, and your child is not performing, but damn near like a 40-plus-year-old man. Sorry, I don't even think Fernando's 40-something, but anyway, I think
he is. He's in his 40s.
This 40-year-old man is outshining your 25-year-old son. Wouldn't you be pissed too?
I don't know. I think he's a billionaire. This is just another project that they pick up and they move on. I think he's fine. But having said that, yes, I'm sure, he's a bit like, oh, I'm a bit tired of this project now. I'll move on. It's just crazy that some people have that amount of kind of like influence and money where they can just be like, yeah, I'm going to pick up an F1 team and carry. Do you remember that guy who was that billionaire who was wanted for like
Force India.
Yeah,
Oh
Force
my
India.
God.
What was he wanted for again?
He bought everything. He bought a plane.
money.
He bought a plane. He bought an F1 team. He was buying things left, right, and center. Like, hilarious. He's the one that was making them wear pink.
Yeah.
And also, he couldn't go to any of like the races that his team was wanted in all these countries. So I'm just saying, F1, they do allow these people who have got like money and influence and or supposedly have money, into these positions, and they don't care as long as they're getting paid the schman. So
Yeah, they were getting their money from.
Haas is still begging for money. They're still begging. They are still fundraising.
Buy Haas. A billionaire needs to buy Haas. Because Gunther is out.
Who are they sponsored by? Is it MoneyGram? Money Shop?
I have no, maybe MoneyGram. I don't know.
They ain't got no money.
They ain't got no money. Because Haas, you know what? I even want them off the grid. I'm fed up.
I'm sorry.
I want them off the grid.
Obviously, Magnussen caused the red flag. Obviously, it wasn't your fault. It was the car mechanical error, whatnot. But babes,
they've caused too many injuries.
Babes.
Too many injuries. It's enough.
I'm surprised that Gunther is like not a raging alcoholic at this point, because the stress that they must put him under.
I mean, I'm sure he's in the vineyards,
Yeah.
I'm sure he's fine. We saw that on Drive to Survive last season, he's fine. He's having a lovely time in the vineyards, drinking a lot of wine.
I know he's drinking beer wine. He must be drinking a lot of wine. Him and Mattia Binotto. I'm sure when Mattia left Ferrari, he was just chilling there, sitting there.
Yeah. I wouldn't worry about these people, Simone, okay? They're fine.
They good, they aight.
I don't worry. Some of our other talking points were, Daniel Ricciardo having a good race weekend, broke his hand, came back, trying it on George Russell. Let me tell you, if Daniel had overtaken George, oh baby.
If Daniel had overtaken George, I would have petitioned for George's removal, because he can't let that happen. That's what
I was saying, right?
I was so happy.
I'm so glad that he didn't let it happen. Even I was like, it's 2 laps. You can hold on for 2 laps.
I did not.
Because my thing is, if you can defend against Lewis Hamilton, you can defend against Daniel Ricciardo. I'm so sorry. If Daniel Ricciardo had gone past, in my head, it would have been a personal vendetta from me. Because them times when you were holding up Lewis.
Exactly. You remember the opening laps when Daniel was in front of Lewis, and I was like, come on, Daniel, show some respect. Show some respect.
Even in quali, I was thinking, how dare you? Like, how dare you in that AlphaTauri? How dare you? But he's definitely going to get that Red Bull seat very, very soon. He's going to get that seat.
The announcement from Red Bull, I think, is imminent. Imminent. It's absolutely imminent, because even though Christian was like, yes, Checo, you didn't have a really good race to him, blah, blah, but, we'll pick him up, blah, blah, blah. He was like, yes, he was just going for it. And if he didn't go for it, he would have been sad that he didn't do it, got to make opportunities, blah. I was like, whatever. Because deep down, I know, Christian, you're thinking, this dog is gone, yo. Like, how dare you not even make it one lap of their own race? And then, listen, when I saw him on the TV come in to the garage to speak to the engineers, I was like, oh, man. That point, in the car, I did feel really sad for him. I thought, God, I really did feel bad for your home race. And then they cut to the screen and the little boy crying in his dad's arms in the stands.
That was his hero. Checo was his hero, and he let him down.
I feel like Red Bull, they do a very good job at talking outward on the face of things, but then having like a bit of privacy behind the scenes to do what they're really thinking. Do you know what I mean? I think Christian's a very good talker, because I'm sure, like, to Simone's point, essentially, that he's like, oh, Checo wouldn't have been happy if he didn't go for it, which is exactly what Checo said. But it's just interesting that Christian's saying that now out loud, but we're even as a fan, you're waiting for that announcement to be like, oh, Checo's not going to be in Red Bull. My question being, though, what other driver do you think on the grid, Christine, what would want to put in that seat?
There's rumours of Fernando Alonso. There's rumours.
See, this is what I mean. Terrible decision. Obviously, it's not that I dislike Alonso. It's more about if someone's going to be put in that seat, it needs to be someone like Lando, Oscar, Alex.
Alex,
Do you know
Liam
what?
Lawson.
Do you know what? I think Liam Lawson needs an AlphaTauri seat first.
Yeah,
You see Lando, I don't think he's about it.
No, I don't either, but that's the point. In terms of options, I don't really think there's many options, which is probably why I'm looking at someone like Alonso, at which point I'm thinking, we'll just keep Checo in the seat then.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to do that. Listen, you don't think back to, was it 2020? No, it's before 2020, actually, when Alex Albon was in that seat. And then I remember midweek, I feel like it was a Tuesday. All I know is that Alex Albon out of Red Bull. I was like, rah. The other day, Christian was like, yeah, like he's doing all right.
It was Gasly. It was
exactly. That's what I'm going to say. And then it was Gasly.
And then the same thing to Pierre Gasly. I was like, rah.
Oh my God. The Gasly one was painful.
That was horrible.
Having had experiences or seen experiences like that, right? Checo's lucky he's still in the seat.
That's what I mean. Listen, he's lucky he's lasted this long because
I said, oh no.
So I was going to say, it goes back to your point though, Chanise, that Red Bull are probably thinking, who could we get to replace him? That's why they're biding their time. Because look how quick they cut Alex, they cut Pierre, quicker than quick gone.
Because they can't put Yuki in it.
God, do you know how much money he would cost them per week?
Also, it would just be like having another like young Alex or Pierre in there. So Nick De Vries, when he came in, he was riding for who? AlphaTauri. Again, they dashed him out half a season in. Do you know what I mean?
Dashed that guy out. Meanwhile, his Yuki only had 2 points and Nick had 0. Like he dashed them. What? It just didn't make any sense. It has to be Daniel Ricciardo and Liam Lawson gets that AlphaTauri seat, or Fernando Alonso. It's one of the two.
But yeah, I just, as a fan, as a spectator, as someone who I guess analyzes the races too, I don't want any of those people in the seat. Just keep Checo in the seat. Just keep him in the seat for one more season, and then next year when he starts making mistakes again, dash him out. But for now, I cannot see Alonso in this. Please don't put Alonso in it. It would just, and I'm not saying
that.
I think it could be fun.
It would be so fun.
Then Perez goes to Aston Martin. And then he might even become even better. Like, I think this could work. I think
I'm so dead watching Alonso in a Red Bull.
Oh, do you know what?
I think
watching Alonso in a Red Bull would give Max Verstappen the heebie-jeebies. So you see how last week, when Lewis was catching up to Max, and Max seconds. They're crazy. That's what Alonso will do to Max.
Yeah. He's scared the shit out of him. He's scared the shit out of him.
Hang on a second. Hold up. Wait a minute. Now, remember, at the start of the season, Checo was giving Max a run for his money, and he said, I'm coming for the championship. I'm coming for it, right? And remember the conspiracy theory we had on the podcast? Well, I say we, not specifically me, but we were talking about the fact, actually, since Checo said that, something's going on with this guy's car. He has not had the same performance since. I'm just saying, Alonso better stay where he is at Aston Martin. Otherwise, someone's coming for his car.
They could never do that to Alonso. Alonso has a mouth. They could never do that to Alonso. Alonso will go on every single Spanish television and say, this is what these Red Bull motherfuckers are doing to me. He will not. And the thing is, do you remember when Lewis was asking for the same engines and stuff, and Alonso just was not having it. And he was literally, do you remember when he held Lewis up in the pit stop?
Listen, he's done a lot of shit to Lewis. He's done a lot of things to do with.
Alonso.
And we're not forgetting.
Do you know that whiteboard that says "fuck around and find out"? With
Yeah.
Alonso, fuck around and find out.
Find out.
Yes. I would love to see that. Like Alonso and Max Verstappen fighting for a championship. God,
Listen,
give it to
they
me.
would fuck around and fight each other, and that would just be perfect for me because those two fiery people. Oh my God, please, Checo, listen, Christian, all you gotta do is think, hey, Alonso, listen, I know you got that fine last week and everything, but I can pay that for you. That €100, that's nothing. That's fine. That's a little light dinner, a couple of bottles of wine. Do you fancy coming over? Because we've got a spare seat now. You know, what would you say? Come on over to the ball.
See, Gaffer, see. That's what I would say. Alonso, please go to Red Bull.
Okay,
Give us some entertainment.
we announce it in Brazil, yeah? We announce it on the last day in Brazil. Okay, cool, thanks.
Can you imagine they announce it at Lewis's home ground?
The cheek. Well, I don't put anything past them. Who was your star boy?
Lewis. Oh, Lewis.
Yeah.
It was Lewis. Are we all in agreement that was Lewis?
Well,
I
we
said
were all
Lando,
in
but I was
agreement, but
happy
it
for Lewis.
wasn't. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Lando. I forgot about Lando. Yeah.
Yeah,
Lando shouldn't have been there to begin with.
Considering he didn't get into Q3 on Saturday, had a very bad Saturday because he's normally in Q3 and it's like, Lando, how the hell did you not get out of Q1?
It's
And then
G's fault.
exactly, and then for him to, start 19th, finish, I think it was 5th or 6th. When did he finish? And I was like, that is very good. Yeah, Lando finished 5th, and I was like, you know what? He had a decent race.
He did have a decent race. Okay, I don't mind giving it to Lando. That's true. He did have a decent race.
He said Lewis, and I was like, yeah, I couldn't decide between Lewis and Lando, so I'm happy to give it to Lewis.
Did you see how Lewis was caressing them tires? Then fastest lap at the end.
He had a brilliant weekend.
When he was doing purple sectors on that last lap, I said no.
Fastest lap. I said, right.
No. There's no.
The overtake on Daniel, the overtake on
Charles.
That's
Did you see Charles and Lewis watching it back? And then Charles was literally looking at Lewis like, what the fuck? How did you do that? Like, no, Lewis showed us that he means business.
Like, he said, don't count me out.
Yeah, but it's a bit late into the season to mean business now, isn't it? I mean, maybe he's preempting it for next season, but come on.
Chanise now.
Not going live.
Let's not head over heels. I think he'll be great in Brazil as well, but
I'm giving Lewis the win for Brazil.
Yeah. Well, I want him to win in Brazil, but will he realistically with Max?
Yes.
I don't know.
Look what happened last year.
I said to Chanise, listen, Brazil 2021, best race ever. They threw everything, disqualifications, all kind of stuff at Lewis. They were like point deduction, whatever. Lewis said, no. My ancestors are from here. This is my country. I am going to win. And he did.
However, what might make a slight difference this year is that there's a sprint again in Brazil. There's another sprint, right? So this might change some things. Remember, the strategies have to change. The amount of tires you've got, the amount of practice. It's going to be a long weekend.
Yeah,
exhausted. Right. So that might change a few things.
Mm-hmm.
So Chanise brings us back down to earth.
Yeah, I'm brought back down to earth now. I'm just like the disqualification last week was heavy. It was heavy on my heart, boy.
Exactly. And I genuinely believe that wear on the car came from the fact they were just racing all week. There was no break. There was no stop.
It was silly.
Yeah.
It was so silly. And it wasn't even that great of a sprint to begin with.
I was like, I'm not going to lie, this was too much racing for me. It's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much. You guys know I can barely keep up with qualifying. And that's just me listening to what happened qualifying, let alone watching it all weekend. I'm always too busy. This weekend I'm going to another rave. I ain't got time for that shit, bro.
Chanise and the raves, it continues.
Yeah, I know. I've got another one this week. I hope we don't have a race the weekend of like the 16th or something. The weekend after Brazil. I think we've got a break, hopefully, because I'm at another rave.
Then it's Las Vegas, I think.
Yeah, because I'm at another rave. So,
girl, I love your life. I love it.
It's out.
You're outside.
All I'm doing is FA Cup stuff. She needs to live in life.
She's living life, best life.
I'm trying. I'm
Outside.
trying to. I'm really trying. Because last year I just worked so much. I was like, nah, man, I need to get back at the rave scene.
I love that for you.
I just realised it. You don't even know what's been happening. You know, I went to Paris to go and see Usher.
Oh yeah, I saw your snaps.
My God, it was amazing.
If you had to choose an Usher or a Lewis Hamilton, baby, who you choosing?
Lewis. I'm definitely choosing Lewis over Usher for sure.
Sorry. What am I doing? What am I doing with them though?
Anything you want, honey.
Man, you gotta fight Shakira first and then me. So
That's all right. I can fight Shakira.
Get her out of here.
I just
My
choose
hips
you,
don't
you
lie
could definitely
too.
fight me. You could definitely fight me. So yeah, maybe you might as well just choose Lewis.
I will fight Shakira. I'll eat all the jam in your fridge as well. Trust me. But yeah, Usher was amazing. It was a very, very good show. I'd see it all over again. So if anyone wants to fly me out to Vegas for the Super Bowl halftime, I'm down like a pound. Please, I'll see Usher all over again.
Did you get like a Winnie Harlow moment, you know, were you close enough where he was gonna get up all in you?
I didn't, but it was still good. Like I was close enough to see action. Like he utilized the whole stage. It was quite intimate. Like it was nice.
Sounds intimate. The way that you're in your feels right now.
Yeah, because it wasn't.
So happy.
I'd say maybe 5,000-6,000 people were there.
Yeah.
It's not like a huge stadium, but had fun. And yeah, Usher did this thing.
Sexy boy.
Oh,
Listen, the scenes that I saw, I was like, I don't know if this is a porn or it's a live sex show or what. Like, I just didn't know. It was giving a lot.
People were like snapping the pole dancers and like they looked
good.
amazing. They looked amazing.
Listen, that one pole dancer, the original bad girl.
Well, and she was doing like the claps like that with her legs.
Honestly, I hope that she eats very well, and I hope she.
What we need is Usher to pull up to Vegas, the Vegas Grand Prix. Usher,
because he's there, so why wouldn't he?
Oh no, but that's what I'm saying. That would be sick. That would be lit.
I would watch the F1 channel from start to end that entire weekend. Start to end. Pull up.
Sat there waiting for Usher to come.
You see how like when Miami was introduced, they did like a whole like concert thing. Yeah. They should do that for Vegas and get Usher to be the star. I will sit there and I will watch him.
They probably will. They'll probably get all the stars. I think obviously Adele's got her residency in Vegas. She'll probably pull up. I think Mike Tyson.
Adele was about to drive some cars.
I agree. The last person I want to see in the Vegas Grand Prix is Adele. I need like P. Diddy, Jay-Z.
Of course they're not going to be there. Like, come on, this is Vegas, baby.
I know, but you know what I mean. Like, I don't want Adele. I want like some.
Can you imagine Adele? I do never mind, I'll find. I don't want to be crying. No, Adele, honey, sit this one out, please. We love you. Sit this one out. Oh gosh,
it'll be fun. But yeah, Brazil next week should be fun too.
That's gonna be the highlight because Vegas, Max is definitely winning. I've looked at the track. I've played the track on F123, and it's all about DRS. It's all about straights. It is
that straight line speed.
And Checo's definitely going to get second because if he doesn't, then I don't know.
He's going home.
He has to go home because that track is made for Red Bull. So
I said to Chanise that because of how the fans are booing Leclerc, I said, I hope that he's got some security on deck because if he doesn't make it to Brazil, we know why.
He needs a security more than Max does at this point.
If we don't see him this race weekend, we know that someone's got him. That we know something.
I just hope that the fans actually took a look at it. And like obviously, you know, when you're there and that live and direct, sometimes you miss the replays.
You actually do miss it because you're not all you're seeing is what had happened.
There you go. So I really hope that they've watched it back and seen like Checo was at fault. That guy was moving like an idiot.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what happens in Brazil.
We will see you next. Well, hear you next. You'll hear us next week on the podcast about our debrief on Brazil. I'm excited about Brazil this year. I can't remember. I remember loving last year's one actually, and I can't remember why. I don't know what happened, but I remember thinking, "Oh, this one's going to be a good one."
George got a podium. I think George might have won that
Oh,
one.
that's probably why, actually. If George got a podium, that would probably be why I was loving last year's.
Anywho, ladies, guys, girls, dolls, whatever, whatever you are in between, whatever.
Yeah, whatever you want to be, we don't care.
Exactly. It's been a fun one, and we will see you